Yo, 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 welcome back to the Playoffs of Life podcast with your host, Adrian Hatcher. We are back, guys. We are back with another episode of the Playoffs of Life podcast. Y'all know what we do on this podcast. It's the podcast where we talk about basketball, lifestyle, and finances in that order. But most of the time, we just go off the top. In this episode, we are going to hit basketball as hard as possible. What do I mean by that? I mean, we are about to examine all the series that have passed so far, as well as some of the future series that are going to be happening, such as right now. Tonight is the night, the Nuggets versus the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals, game one. I've been looking forward to this game for the past few days, mainly because the Nuggets are looking like a major underdog, just like how they've been looking the last two series, but it hasn't changed anything because the Nuggets have come back twice. I'll repeat that. The Nuggets have come back twice from a 3-1 game deficit, which is crazy when you really think about that. They've dug themselves into multiple holes, like 15-point leads where it just doesn't look like they're coming back. And then for some amazing play and talent and skill and teamwork, they come back with a vengeance and they end up beating not only the Utah Jazz, which credit to the Utah Jazz. I want to give a shout out to them. Donovan Mitchell, good Lord. That team is a team that I honestly believed was going to make it at least to the Western Conference Finals. Why? Because Donovan Mitchell has been proving every single year he gets in the playoffs that he is a superstar. And with him running it and with Mike Conley, captain, being who he is and running the Memphis Grizzlies the way he did before he joined the Utah Jazz, I just felt like they had enough experience to make it super deep into the playoffs. But of course, who did they end up running into? The Denver Nuggets in the first round. And that was a Game 7 series that I enjoyed to the fullest. I watched every single game. I saw Donovan Mitchell go off for 50. I saw Jamal Murray go off just as hard. They were playing their oh my god, their footwork was amazing, their teamwork, their vision. They were just balling out of control, and their teams, they were perfect. Everything that they were doing, it was just beautiful basketball. It was epic, and this is why we love the game of basketball, to see things like that. So when the Utah Jazz ended up losing on a rim out on the last shot, even though it was a little disappointing to see that shot not fall and for them not to move on to the second round of the playoffs, I still have faith that the team that beat them was going to show teams just like the Clippers and now the Lakers that they can ball, that they are better, that they are ready to take their superstar spot in these playoffs, okay? We have been looking down on some of these teams, to be honest. If you really look at the Western Conference, everybody in their mama knows that everyone believed the Lakers were going to take it all. It doesn't matter what team you were voting for. It doesn't matter who you thought was going to come out the West. You just believed that whoever was going to make it in the finals with the Lakers was not going to be able to beat them. And even to this point, I have a lot of Lakers fans. I've heard so much smack, so much back talk, so many people doubt the Denver Nuggets. But the Denver Nuggets have proved that this year they're better than every single team they play in the playoffs. And I have no doubt that they're going to exert their will on the Lakers in this series as well. Why do I believe that? Well, Jamal Murray has been going fucking crazy for the past, not even past few games, for the whole entire playoffs. Nikola Jokic, oh my Lord. This man can pass. Like, when I'm talking about, this man knows what he's doing on the court. It is a beautiful thing to watch a player who does not have the speed and maybe not the absolute strength that usually can push star players to that superstar echelon. He doesn't have any of that. But what he does have is a beautiful mind This man has put in the time and work to develop a jump shot that looks like it's so slow and that you're not even going to be able to make the shot, but he makes it. He throws these passes that you won't normally throw in a playoff setting. As a team, you're trying to be more careful. You're trying to take care of the ball, less turnovers. But Jokic, he just has this way of playing basketball where even when he throws things like a no-look pass, and it looks so dangerous, full court passes, they look like they're going to get picked off, but it's perfect. It goes straight to the player that he's trying to get it to. And then you have a supporting cast of Gary Harris, Torrey Craig, Paul Millsap, Michael Porter Jr. Like, these boys do not play. They have shown that they can come back from deficits. They have the firepower. When they're ready to play defense, they put you on skates. They know how to play defense. They know how to play as a team, and they don't give up. They don't quit. It doesn't matter what the score is. If they still feel like they have time to make a comeback, they will make a comeback. Jamal Murray has shown off a flurry, and I mean an absolute flurry of skills that we as fans didn't think he had. Like, we never thought about putting Jamal Murray in a top 10 point guard list until this series. The minute he beat the Utah Jazz, what was the conversation? Oh, well, they ran into the Clippers. Well, we all know the Clippers and the Lakers are supposed to meet each other in the Western Conference Finals. So there's absolutely no way that Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic can basically beat the Clippers, because that would destroy everybody's brackets. And what happened? The Clippers blew a 3-1 lead, a 3-1 game lead. They had it in the bag. They only needed one more game and they couldn't get it done. And that's how sports goes, though. Like, that's what basketball is about, the unpredictability of it, and how exciting it is to see something new or change, to see basketball played at an elite level, to see teams competing, to see players stepping up, to see superstars doing what superstars do, because that's the love of the sport. That's the competitiveness that they showed. And the Nuggets throughout these whole entire playoffs have showed that they not only have the talent to win a championship, but they have the heart. And if you get anything from this podcast episode, know that I am rooting for the Nuggets to beat the Lakers. I am not going to do a game-by-game basis. Honestly, I don't even know if I would have the willpower to do that. I don't even know if the Nuggets went down a 3-1 game deficit. I don't even know if I would doubt them. I need to see them actually get beat 4 straight in order to really doubt the Nuggets and the run that they've been going on. But even with that, they've proven what they come to prove. But as competitors, they're still trying to get a championship. They're showing that you do not have to have the superstars to win in this league. You do not have to have the LeBron James number 1 crowned king player from day one. You do not have to have that. They developed Nikola Jokic, who was a 2nd round pick, and now he's probably one of the best offensive big men in our league right now. Same with Jamal Murray. Even though he was a top 10 pick, this man wasn't looked at as a franchise point guard by a lot of people, but now we're putting him in that top 10 conversation. You see it all over Twitter now, and that's exciting to see. That's basketball. Other teams that I want to give a shout out to right now are the Blazers. I was really voting for the Blazers. They come into the bubble as underdogs, like they always are. Nobody really, unless you're a Blazers fan, you don't really go for Dame and CJ and them boys, who they got an elite offense, but maybe they got to work on that defense. Nobody was really going for them. Nobody I saw. I was voting for them because obviously, I like seeing underdogs, and Dame can put up buckets, 50-point games. Step back, tough, just bad shot threes. I'm talking about coach looking at the shots like, no. And when it goes in, yes type of shots, And CJ, his Robin to his Batman just coming through, always doing what he got to do. If Dame ain't got it, oh, it's CJ's turn. And CJ, he know how to get buckets too, and it was beautiful watching them play. Of course, they get knocked out the playoffs as well. They ended up going up against the Lakers, and that is not always the best matchup, seeing as they ended up being the 8th seed. They fought so hard, though. Like, their whole journey, they had to end up playing the Memphis Grizzlies to have a play-in game in order to face the Lakers in the first round. That has to be tough. And then with everything going on with the Black Lives Matter protests, that intervened with the last game, but it was an intervention that I applaud and that I thoroughly enjoyed, because I wouldn't be mad if the players told the league that they weren't going to play until there was some necessary and some drastic changes made against the killing of black people. And I was very proud of the protests that went on between the Bucks really starting the protest and every team kind of falling behind, and making sure that there was an understanding that we are here to play basketball, but that we understand there's a cause right outside of our doors, right outside of Disneyland, that is of greater importance. And I applaud that. Okay. I want to give a shout out to Black Lives Matter right now just for that, and we ended up going back into the basketball season. And of course, the Blazers, they lost in 6 games to the Lakers. LeBron James, I don't think this man, as great as he is, he's just so great that you don't see him losing unless it's in the finals. You got to put the best of the best against a LeBron James type of player in order to beat him, because he just wills a team, man. And with a sidekick like Anthony Davis, who I can't even call a sidekick. Dame and CJ is Batman and Robin, but LeBron and AD is like Batman to Batman. Like they both dangerous. They both, man, when they're on one, it is tough to beat that team. But it's also tough for the Lakers to stay that consistent, to be able to continue AD having 30 and 12 and LeBron James having 25 and 7 assists. Like, it's hard for them to constantly do that every game, to show up every game. It's not always going to be like that. So their supporting cast has to also step up in them games where either LeBron doesn't have it or AD doesn't have it, or maybe the team's just not making those shots, those wide open shots. It's deteriorating, man. It really hits a team like the Lakers. They really have to have their superstars on another level, especially in the playoffs, in order to keep winning games comfortably. Because if it comes down to the wire in the playoffs, we all know that's what playoff basketball is about. Anything can happen. And then 2 more teams that I want to shout out is the Heat and the Celtics. Oh my God. The Heat, at this current moment, the Heat are 10-1. They have won 10 games and only lost 1 in these entire playoffs. And they are in the Eastern Conference Finals right now. What else can I say? Jimmy gets buckets. The Butler did it again. He has so many catchphrases. We already know what Jimmy G Buckets gets. When I was a Bulls fan and Jimmy was on our team, I loved Jimmy to death. And I'm glad to see that on the Miami Heat, he's doing his damn thing. He has a team of Rough Riders that he's been riding with this whole entire playoffs. And he believes that they are good enough to win a championship. And anybody who doubts that, it don't matter. Jimmy's going to go out there and do his thing. And why? Because Jimmy has proved time and time again, he's the type of superstar that not only can get you the buckets when you need it, not only can get you the plays when you need it, the clutch gene, he also can play defense. Matter of fact, the game 1 and game 2 of the Heat versus Celtics, Jimmy Butler's defense was one of the major things that led to them winning those games, as well as the team. The team, oh my Lord, watching them do their rotations, watching them guard up their man to man, and sticking with them and being able to go on the fast break and get an easy bucket. You know how important that is in the playoffs. I've seen the Miami Heat do that relentlessly. And when I say they got a team of Rough Riders, they also got swag, man, because they got shooters. Goran Dragic ain't nothing to be fucked with. That point guard is on another one when it comes to just being consistent for a team. You know, he will consistently put up at least 15 points while getting some assists. And that's what you want from your starters and your bench. You want consistency all around, because consistency will lead to you winning. That's on good defense and offense. You also got Tyler Hero. Oh my lord, Duncan Robinson, man. I think Duncan Robinson is a free agent. I really hope he is. I would love him on the Bulls. This man can shoot that ball. I'm talking about he got that. Oh, he got that range. It's so beautiful when it leaves his hand. And right now, the Celtics are really struggling with the zone because the Miami Heat, they have a game plan and they haven't really had to make too many adjustments in these last two games in order to beat the Celtics. They've hung into those games. Even though they've gotten into like 12 or 15-point deficits, they've been able to battle back because of the shooters they have. Of course, Jimmy Butler get them buckets when they need. Players such as Jay Crowder have been shooting the ball lights out this entire series. You got players that even if they're not shooting the ball at an extremely high clip or extremely high rate, they're still their body creates space. Their presence on the floor creates the space that the cutters and the drivers need in order to get into the paint. And we see that time and time again. And Bam Adebayo, I mean, what else can we say so far? I really feel like he was a 6th Man of the Year candidate. This year has been like a breakout year for Bam Adebayo. And I'm impressed with everything I've seen from him, especially in game 1 with that game-saving block. Come on, man. Come on. How many games do you see end with a tremendous, excellent defensive play from one player? Because if nobody admits it, then I'll say it. Jimmy Butler got beat on that drive, and Tatum was about to get a dunk to end the game. And if he got that dunk, who knows? Maybe the Celtics would have had momentum going into game 2, and maybe they would have won game 2 too. The Heat could have been down 2-0, and we would have had a whole different type of story. But that's not what happened. Bam Adebayo gets that game-saving block in game 1, and the Heat scratch out a win. Game 2 comes down to the wire once again. It's only a 3 to 4 point deficit for the Celtics at the time. Jaylen Brown stepping up, making some clutch threes. I'm talking about clutch threes. And he dwindles the lead down. And then what happens? Jimmy G Buckets makes 2 defensive plays, gets 2 potential steals in order to seal that win, in order to increase that lead and to make sure they walk out there with a win. So I give all credit to the Miami Heat, players such as Andre Iguodala, that I didn't name. Also, who else is on that team? Man, I really just need to do my research on the Heat because they're some rough riders for sure. Also, the Celtics, man, the Celtics are on just another one. I am so proud to watch Jason Tatum become the superstar he is meant to be. Jaylen Brown, he's that Batman. He's that Robin to that Batman. I'm telling you, Kemba Walker hasn't had the best series, but it's understandable. Right now, Jason Tatum, he's the go-to guy. And Kemba, I feel like he will get his rhythm. He will get the shots that he's supposed to get. Right now he's struggling tremendously. Every game is probably like around 4 out of 11 for him in his shot amount, and and he's getting assists, and he's putting up some pretty like clutch, some pretty on-time buckets. But it's just not the Kemba you usually see. Maybe it's because he's not the number one guy or the go-to guy on this team, which is a great thing for him because he doesn't have to do so much. He doesn't have to facilitate for everybody, put up the buckets, but you really want to see Kemba come out and just have a really solid, great game this series. And they're going to need it if they want to be able to beat the Miami Heat, because the Heat are just so team-oriented. You really have to beat them as a collective. You can't just expect to shut down Jimmy Butler and expect to pull out a win at the end of the day. Any other teams that I can shout out, the Dallas Mavericks had a great series. Of course, Porzingis went down I believe those last 2 games, and Luka Doncic, we already know how much of a superstar he is. So seeing him, have to fight the Clippers and beat them, that was tough to watch, because you see that he's doing his absolute best to keep his team in it. But they pushed him to 6. I was proud to see the effort that they put in, and even watching that series, the Clippers, they look so good that you would never expect that they would go that they would blow a 3-1 comeback on the Nuggets, but that's just how it went. So thank you to all the teams in the playoffs that have made just excellent strides. Y'all have raced my television. When I tell y'all I've been watching the playoffs religiously, I'm glad I can finally make a podcast episode about it and just talk about each individual player. But we're going to take a break real quick, and we'll come back to some more basketball stuff. But I also got a mention, also got to drop some gems for you. You know, we don't just like to talk about basketball. We like to be diverse. You know, we like to have an open opinion on some stuff. And I'm going to be dropping some relationship stuff on you for the lifestyle segment, as well as some financial stuff about some home buying stuff that I've been dealing with lately. So if you want to hear that, we'll come back after the break and we'll discuss that. So right now, guys, just, get your coffee if you're listening to me early in the morning, or get some juice. It's apple juice preferably, since apple juice is the best juice in the world. And then come back to this episode. All right. We'll see you in a bit.